Hello, my name is Miss Pritchard. I am one of the assistant heads at Beaconsfield High School. This is a recording aimed at parents to introduce you to some of the ideas that students at Becky High are being taught on a fortnightly basis in their study skills lessons in Year 10 and 11. We've identified a gap in our provision through student voice, and so our study skills lessons are aimed at plugging the gap in our provision, and our aim is to help the students understand how their brain works, how memory works, give them some ideas about how to revise, strategies and techniques for revision, and allow them some time to practice these techniques. We've started the term with a series of lessons, 3 lessons in Year 10 and 2 lessons in Year 11, introducing the students to how their brain works and how memory works. And really that's the focus of this video today. So as I say, the students have been introduced to parts of their brain and in particular thinking about the part of the brain that is responsible for memory and how our memories work. The frontal lobe is really important, and in particular the hippocampus is really important when we're talking and thinking about memory and learning. I've selected slides from the class PowerPoints for this video clip. The class PowerPoint will be sent to the students, and I will also provide a link to the PowerPoint along with this video clip. So memory can be likened to a muscle. Use it lots to build it. Think of it as a use it or lose it situation. If you don't use your memory, build solid connections between the cells, you won't be able to retrieve, to find information that you thought you'd learned. I have spoken to the students about this analogy. Imagine that you have buried treasure in this field. You want to return to check it, and an hour later you can still clearly see the trampled vegetation leading to the treasure. You go back the next day perhaps and see the trampled vegetation is beginning to stand upright again. The path is there, but it's not as clear. A week later, the vegetation stands tall and you can't find your treasure. The treasure is still there, you just can't navigate your way back to it. The path has disappeared, the treasure has not. If we liken the treasure to stored information, physics equations, geography processes, historical events, whatever the subject is, students need to understand that first of all we need to put the treasure in the field. That is all about encoding the information. In lessons, students need to be concentrated. They need to be paying attention to enable them to encode the information, to bury the treasure. When they revise, they are building solid connections to be able to retrieve that information. If they don't repeatedly retrieve and recall the information, the connections aren't clear, the pathways back to that piece of information are not solid. The hippocampus and frontal cortex work together to encode. The teacher teaches new information, the student needs to be paying attention. The brain registers new input and hopefully the student transfers it to long-term memory. Long-term memory appears to be infinite and indefinite. We can hold huge amounts of data To properly encode memory, you must first be paying attention, however. The more information is repeated or used, the more likely it is to end up in long-term memory or be retained. When you want to remember something, you retrieve the information on an unconscious level, bringing it back to your conscious mind. Think back to the field of crops. If you can't forget something, then either you didn't encode it properly or you can't find where you put it. This year, we are encouraging the students to practice retrieval, and part of this is remarkable learning, 5-minute reflection every night. Clearly, students in year 10 and 11 need more than 5 minutes on each subject per night, but the principle stands. You learn something, you encode it, but you need to practice retrieving it to be sure that in the exam you can get hold of the information you need. I've also spoken to the students about the importance of a growth mindset. I like this video. Talks a lot of sense. I think it makes it quite accessible about how practice leads to improvement. We might not all be an opera singer. We might not all be an elite athlete. But if I run more and practice running, I'm going to get better at running. If I practice the guitar more, I'm going to get better at playing the guitar. If I practice and learn repeatedly over and over my physics equations, I'm going to get better at recalling my physics equations. And that's part of having a growth mindset, is this belief that practice does lead to improvement. We can grow our brains. We talk about neuroplasticity, about how the brain changes. We can learn new things. We can make new neural connections, and repetition and practice strengthens those neural connections so that we are able to perform when we need to and access the information we need when we need to. The lessons are fairly fast-paced, and I intend to send out the PowerPoint that I use in the lessons to all of the students in year 10 and 11 at the end of the series of lessons, which will be around October half term. As I say, I will also get this out to parents so that you have the links to the clips that are shown during the lessons. The lessons aren't all about brain and memory. We do 2 in year 11 and 3 in year 10, and then we're going to move on to teaching the students different revision techniques. And the students will be given the opportunity to practice these revision techniques in class, so that when they're revising they have a range of strategies to choose from. Clearly some will appeal to them more than others, and so with a range of strategies we hope that students will have a toolbox, if you like, to choose from. The overarching message here from this clip is that practice, revision, paying attention in class is all so important to enable your student to be able to recall vital information at the vital time, i.e. in an exam situation. We also will cover in the study skills lesson topics like procrastination, designing an exam timetable, the importance of sleep, of looking after yourself, and of stress management. But I think that part of coping with exam stress is having a clear plan, is feeling in control, and that comes through preparation. If you have ideas about how to revise, you understand the science behind a little bit of how revision, or why revision is important. You begin in plenty of time, you have a plan that you are going to stick to. I think that goes some way to relieving the stress. You feel more in control of the situation that you are facing, and hopefully that alleviates the stress as well. I will post further videos talking more about each individual revision strategy as and when they are being taught. Thank you.